Hello, this is Mr. Painter with another fabulous tutorial. Today we're going to do the backside of why did Zorna pour ketchup on her brother's hand. Now the backside involves graphing. So what we're going to do is we're going to graph number 1 as a tutorial, which is going to allow you to graph numbers 2 through 8 on your own. Now, as we graph it, we need to first find number 1 on the backside of our worksheet. So as I scroll down, and for you guys, you're going to flip to the back of your worksheet, you're going to locate the Cartesian plane of number 1. Now note that the y-axis involves graphs that go either up or down. And the x-axis are graphs that either go to the left or to the right. Now, when it comes to the x-axis, if the number is positive, you're going to count to the right. If it comes to the x-axis and the number is negative, you're going to count to the left. And for the y-axis, if you're going to count up, it will be positive. And if you have a negative value, you're going to count down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and graph my 4 points. Now, what 4 points are we talking about? These right here are something called ordered pairs. So by putting a parenthesis around them and putting a comma, now we have an ordered pair to graph. So I have an ordered pair here. I have an ordered pair here. And those are commas, by the way. And I have an ordered pair here. Now, you may be looking at my ordered pairs and be noticing a mistake. Now, on purpose, one of the y values will be incorrect. What's going to happen is when you graph your 4 ordered pairs, you're going to discover a mistake and figure out which one is incorrect. And again, on purpose, one of these is incorrect, and you're going to see why and how it pops up on the graph. Now, when we talk about a linear graph, it means straight line. So what's going to happen is these 4 points will not create a straight line because, again, somehow I have made a mistake. I don't know where it's at, but my graphing will help me find that mistake. All right. So my next step is to take the x values and determine whether I'm going to count to the right if it's positive or to the left if it's negative. So starting with x, positive 1, I'm going to count to the right. So therefore, I'm going to draw a little right arrow because I'm going to count to the right. 4, because it's positive, I'm also going to count to the right. Negative 5, because it's negative, I'm going to be counting to the left for that point. And last but not least, 3, I'm going to count to the right. Now let's talk about the y values. The y values, you're going to count up if positive, or if they're negative, you're going to count down. So in this case, negative 2, I'm going to count down. Negative 8, I'm going to count down. Negative 10, I'm also going to count down. And last but not least, negative 6, I'm also going to count down. All right, so here we go. We're going to graph our first point. So we're going to count 1 to the right and down 2 from something called the origin. The origin is the center of the graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my point. I'm going to start at the origin. All right. So recap. I'm going to count to the right 1, and I'm going to count down 2 from the center of the graph, and the x value goes first. So here we go. So here's my x value. I'm going to count 1 to the right. Then I'm going to count down by 2. Negative 1, negative 2, and therefore my first point will land right here. And I'm also going to label the point so I know what it is. So this point here is going to be 1, comma, negative 2. All right, let's do 3 more points and see what happens. Our next point, we're going to go to the right 4 and down 8. So here we go, starting with the x value. Restart in the center again. Count to the right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to count down negative 8. And again, because it's negative, we're going to count down. So here we go. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, -7, and -8 lands right there. So therefore we have another point, and I'm going to label that point as the directions I got there. So it took me a +4, comma, -8 to get there. Next up, we have -5. We're going to count to the left, and after counting to the left, we're going to count down by 10. Let's do it. You're going to restart in the middle. You're going to count to the left 5, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. That concludes our x value. Now our y value, we need to count down by -10. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, -9, and -10. So I'm going to graph this point, -5, comma, -10. Now, take a look at our 3 points. Notice that 3 points are something called nonlinear. The word nonlinear means they're not in a straight row. So already there is a mistake somewhere in these 3 points. However, graphing that last point is going to determine which point is most likely not correct. So, last point here, we are going to graph 3 to the right and down 6. So we're going to restart in the middle. 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and down, I believe it was 6, but I'm going to check. Down 6 is correct. And down 6. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6 lands right there. And we're going to label that point as +3 and -6. Now, if you take a look, it appears our line should go through these 3 points right here. And when graphing a line, because it is an infinite line, you're going to go all the way down to the graph and put an arrow sign indicating that it does not stop. Same goes for going up to the left. You're going to keep going up, 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 and you're going to go that way again with an arrow indicating that the line does not stop. Now, notice something here. We have something called an outlier. An outlier is a point that doesn't belong on the graph. And because I labeled it as -5 and -10, I'm going to go back and review why that point didn't line up with the other 3. So in this case, -5 and -10 is this point right here, which indicates I have made a mistake somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rework what happened. So I got y equals -2x for my equation. And I just brought that over. The -5 goes in for x. So now I got y equals -2 multiply -5 for my next step. All I did was change the x into a -5. And the reason we have multiply is when you have a constant, which is a number, and a variable directly next to each other without a sign, that indicates a multiplication. After that, we're going to take our 2 numbers, our constants in this case, a -2 and a -5, and multiply them together. So 2 times 5 is 10. A negative multiply a negative is actually a positive. Therefore, my mistake was I put a -10 instead of a +10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply correct that mistake that I made from yesterday's assignment and now try regraphing it. So what I want to do is I want to graph -5 and go up +10. So let's see if that fixes the mistake. All right. So remember, -5, we're going to count to the left, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So our x value was correct because they gave it to us. Now, our +10, we should have gone up where before we went down. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Notice that we have landed back on our linear line, which indicates that we have done the point correctly. So we have -5 and +10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and eliminate my mistake to indicate that I have corrected it. And now all 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and 4 points now are in a linear line. So after you have determined that all 4 points are lined up, you have done the problem correctly. Just as I give it in the tutorial, if you see a point that doesn't line up with the other 3, that indicates a mistake. Now, at this point, you are now ready to graph 2 through 8 using the methods I have described here. Have a fantastic day.